Yeah, my name's Forrest. I go by Hurting Murphy online. I'm 30 years old from Orlando, Florida. I'm a dad, I'm a brother, I'm a small business owner, and I make videos about, I guess, social issues. I'm an identitarian, somewhat political and social commentator. And below all of that, which is like the fundamental basis of what got us started in, the public eye is music. We're artists. I'm a music producer. He's a hip hop artist. So I mean, that's kind of my end of it.
Yeah, and I'm Jackson. This is my brother Forrest. I'm 27 years old. My music name is Jackson Price. I'm one half of the duo FROJAX. I consider myself a lifelong poet, writer, author, rapper, MC, musician, and political dissident. And a lot of what we do online is just, I'd say, giving a voice to common people, representing white American people. I consider myself a white identitarian. And I think a large part of what we do is reactionary. And I think that's what makes it necessary.
So going a little bit back, when you guys were in high school, let's say, what kind of kids were you? Who'd you hang out with?
I was really, I was a burnout, really. I was like a pothead, hated school, skipped school, that kind of kid. I didn't cause a lot of problems though. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get into fights. I was very respectful. I was very compassionate. So I wasn't really a problem kid, any more than I was just sort of lazy. Um, but I was always into music. I loved music for my entire life. So like I was in a metal band. I was always into film. I actually wanted to be a director for a long time. I was into acting. I liked, theater, that kind of stuff. So I was very like artsy. I just think I never just knew who I was or knew like what I was. And I think that sort of caused me to stray away from the traditional way of life. I never fit into the normal, go to college and get a corporate job, that kind of thing. I always knew that my life would be unconventional. So yeah, that's kind of how I was.
How does somebody that's artsy and into those types of things in high school become a white identitarian?
That's a good question. I would say, you know, I score very high in trait openness, which is typically associated with people who have tattoos and who are into music and stuff like that. But openness really means open to ideas. And for me, I'm not very much an ideologue. I imagine that if my life looked very different, I would just think differently, as you would expect. And when the tide turns, I'll sort of adapt what I believe to that. So, like he said, I mean, I'm really a reactionary. I never really cared about identity until I was forced to. It's sort of a matter of survival at this point. But I think my openness allows me to accept new ideas. I would listen to people who are racial identitarians instead of being resistant to them and being like, "Oh no, I could never." I heavily considered it for a long time, and I said, "Well, you know what? That actually makes sense." I would say I'm racially identitarian, but I'm actually, even though I'm more what people would call extreme now, I'm less locked into anything. I used to be very much like diehard libertarian, free market, that kind of thing, and anything that deviated outside of those general parameters would be like, "No, no." But now I'm kinda open to anything. I'm just like, I'm a white person, I wanna act in the interest of other white people, and beyond that, everything is kind of a secondary matter. I can talk about whatever, I can discuss. I'm open to any sort of economic system, like you were saying earlier, like, what about a Catholic theocracy? Like, maybe, you know? So I think I'm just a generally open person, so right now, this is just what makes sense to me.
Were you similar in high school? Did you have a similar story?
No, no, we're very different. I think we were very different as children, and then we kind of came full circle. We butted heads a lot when we were kids. I was more of a lone wolf, so I didn't really talk to a lot of people. I kind of withdrew, and similar to him, was not a big fan of school. I argued with my teachers a lot and didn't really trust their authority on certain topics. I would always challenge them, whether it was math or history, it didn't really matter. I wanted to know not just what the answer was, but why the answer was the way that they were telling me it to be. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I just kind of did my own thing. I didn't really talk to a lot of people. I would like skip class to read books, and our dad had like a little office in the basement, so like he would give me books, and I would read those instead of listening to the teachers. And I just always kind of saw myself doing something that wasn't on the traditional conveyor belt, so to speak. And then I'd say temperamentally, I'm probably more, I don't know how you even characterize it, but more like right wing leaning than him. I'm more stoic and stuff like that. Um, and I read a lot of libertarian stuff when I was younger. So like when I was 14, 15, 16, a lot of Thomas Sowell, a lot of Shelby Steele, a lot of Milton Friedman, stuff like that. And that was kind of the flag that I marched to when I was younger, was like the libertarian constitutionalist perspective. And then somewhere along that line, I'd say it started to break down as a necessary reaction, just to looking around at what has been going on around us. It's like we've been holding up this weight it's almost like it feels like white people have been holding up this weight on their shoulders and nobody else is appreciative of it or acknowledging it to begin with. And we're kind of just like, we're going to go do our own thing now. And so that's kind of what's pushed me to be more identitarian. And so, yeah, I'd say I've had a pretty steady trajectory from adolescence into being from a libertarian to being more of like a radicalized person, I'd say.
Okay. No, it's interesting. You do have two different foundations, but it seems like you've reached the same conclusions or similar conclusions at this point. What's the dynamic like between you two? Is because obviously, one has to be the older brother. Do you think you've reached an age where you no longer follow each other's lead at all, or what's the dynamic like?
Well, we kind of follow each other in terms of like how we are based ideologically. We will, I wouldn't say bicker, but we will incessantly go back and forth on the most precise details that I hear few other people talking about. And I think that's probably why we come across as maybe more refined or more professional than other people who are content creators, is because we really talk about this stuff in depth. I mean, we'll have hours, we'll have conversations that go on for possibly 6 hours, or we'll just playing devil's advocate, debating, refining details. It's like we're mining in a mine or something like that, just trying to sharpen the details. And I think we lead each other in different ways. I think I'm kind of his counsel in a lot of ways, and I think that he supports me in a lot of ways, and vice versa. And we definitely, I'd say we have an unbreakable brother bond, and that's gonna play out, I think, pretty well for us.
Yeah, ultimately the foundation's the same. We quibble about nuance all the time,
Yeah.
because that's where my head's always at, is just like the what ifs and the specifics,
Yeah.
which nobody has figured out yet. So
Yeah.
we're still in that process.
I don't know if you know how lucky you guys are to have this type of relationship. That's very rare to be on the same page like that,
Yeah.
pursuing
Yeah.
similar goals.
Well, being radicalized by yourself is isolating. I mean, it's isolating as is, but being completely isolated, that's never good. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely lucky to have each other.
Yeah.
So what kind of household were you grown up in? What kind of like ideals were instilled?
Our parents broke up. Well, they got divorced when I was like 9, you were 5 or 6. We moved all over. We were both born in Florida, but well, I guess we could go into this, and I know both of them have publicly discussed it. They were Jehovah's Witnesses before we were born. Yeah, so they were like devout Jehovah's Witnesses. I believe they met each other in like the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah. Dad was like a really high-ranking minister.
Yeah.
Like a senior or elder or whatever they call it.
Elder, yep.
So, yeah.
So he was like very respected in the church. And then I think maybe it was my dad's an intellectual, my mom's an intellectual. I think that they just discussed it on and off for a long time, and they decided like, hey, we're not going to raise our kids in this church. So they left and were basically disfellowshipped, and all like they lost all their friends. It was very traumatic for them. And then soon after we moved, so we moved to like Colorado for a year and Indiana for a year, then New Hampshire. And it was ultimately my dad just getting better jobs. And then in New Hampshire, my parents divorced. They split up. Jackson and my mom went back to Florida, and then my dad and myself went to Minnesota. So I went to middle school there. Then eventually Jackson moved up to Minnesota with us, and then me and Jackson went to high school at the same time in Minnesota. Then when I graduated, I moved back here. So I've been back here for 12 years. And then Jackson also did the same exact thing. As soon as he graduated, moved back here. The household was very much secular because they left a religion, which Jehovah's Witnesses is more of a cult, they would say. And I think that, my mom was a yoga instructor. She she owned a yoga studio, was a yoga teacher for like 15 years. So very much a free spirit, open-minded. My dad was an engineer, very logical, pragmatic, intellectual, but they were both secular. They were not religious. So I think that they did raise us to, in different ways, encourage us to think for ourselves. Not locked into ideologies, though everyone's kind of locked into an ideology in one way or another. But we did sort of have like an open secular household, I would say. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, that's pretty accurate. And I think that encouraged a lot of conversations too. I think that's probably one of the things that improved our public speaking or ability to come up with ideas on the fly and have conversations with people, is because that element was pretty heavily encouraged by both of our parents, and having this sort of open-mindedness to explore things that you don't know anything about. And we've always kind of had that as part of us. Also writers, both of our parents are writers. And I think that's a big part of what has made us what we are too, because what was it, Jordan Peterson that said, if you can write, that means that you can think, because you're teaching yourself how to think, how to formulate ideas. And so writing was always a really big thing for me. It was pretty big for you too. I think our creativity manifested itself a little differently at first and then came full circle, but I think our parents had a lot to do with that. And yeah, it was definitely interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit during high school or growing up in general? How were your guys' relationship with women around you?
I remember in high school, I was just kind of disinterested in it. I guess I didn't date at all until I was like 20. So I guess I was kind of a late bloomer. I was more interested in like doing nerdy kind of stuff, like reading and doing puzzles. And I was kind of an odd, isolated person in retrospect. I remember women liked me and I didn't dislike them. I just wasn't really, I didn't find them very interesting, I guess, at first. But I think it was normal. I think I was just looking for something more potent at a young age. I was always interested in like intellectual stimulation, and young girls don't really give that to you as a guy with like a developing mind. But socially, I mean, I do think I'm a little autistic. Maybe people close to me joke about that. So I probably have a little bit of that, but I worked really hard to like socialize myself too over the years. But I'd say relatively normal. But I don't hide the fact that I'm kind of odd though too. I'm kind of honest about it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm trying to think about my relationship with women. I mean, I had my mom, my grandmother.
he's definitely more affable than me, like growing up for sure.
Yeah, I'm better with people, or at least I was better with people. In terms of like women specifically, like in high school, I was also kind of a late bloomer, but like I had more like social tact, I guess. I had girlfriends and stuff. I was kind of like a little kid too, though. I was like very like physically, like I looked very young for my age. So I think that was like a hindrance in some way. Um, Women specifically.
Were you guys going to parties?
I did a few times.
It's not really for me.
Yeah. He was more of like, yeah, I mean, you described it more like, I guess, kind of nerdy inclined, and I was more like
Yeah.
party burnout kind of vibe.
You're more extroverted. He's more introverted.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but not even in like a bookworm sense. Like I wasn't even a particularly good student. I was just very like the whole school thing. I just was always very disinterested. I felt disconnected from it. I always felt like I was a magnet being drawn to a different direction. I don't know how else. And I think you had that, but in your own way as well. You know,
For sure.
yeah.
Do you think you guys had most of the radical views, or at least like the inception of the radical views during high school or during your development when you were younger?
Not for me.
No,
I was probably a liberal in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not like a fucking lefty psycho liberal, but like gay people, like, oh, sure, they can get married. Oh, yeah, like I was a very sociable.
you did give a public speech. I remember you told me even back then about being anti-gay marriage. I remember you telling me about that very vividly, actually.
I did do that.
Yeah.
I think if I'm remembering, so a lot of high school for me is like kind of blurry, but if I'm remembering correctly, you had to take like a controversial stance.
Hmm.
Was that? I'm trying to remember. That would have been Mr. What's his name? He was like a penguin. He was an English teacher, and he looked just like a penguin.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Quillen, Mr. You know what I'm talking about? Mr. Quillen?
No, I'm not gonna know the name, but like I think I know what you're talking.
Yeah,
Well, man, you could have prevented this.
he's probably dead now. I don't know how old he was then. He was a dick too. But I forget if it was about that or not, but I was very much like the way that I was is I was very sociable, I was very open, I was very compassionate, but I'm open to ideas. I'm open to talking about like crazy controversial things, and I'm also the first guy to speak his mind. Like if I think something's stupid or like I will speak up in front of the class and just say it, and everyone will think I'm a crazy person or a piece of shit. I didn't believe the things that I believe now, but I was the same in insofar as I wouldn't go out of my way to prevent people from being uncomfortable just by not speaking my mind. Like I would just say whatever I thought, regardless of what it did. Um,
Hmm.
because it was like I can either say what I think and it's awkward, or I cannot say what I think and then I just regret it. It was kind of like that. I've always felt that way. You know, I'm not like a particularly brave or bold person, but I much prefer the risk of speaking my mind than the feeling of just not having said anything. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I think that was kind of me. I was like the little young looking kid that would just say whatever the fuck, you know?
How often do you think it was that you guys had to conceal your beliefs or conceal the things that you thought?
Never. I've never believed in doing that. I think that if men do that, then society falls apart. I think that's like the definition of being a pussy. I think that if you feel the need to say something, then you're more morally obligated to say it immediately. And I think that if you swallow it, you're going to resent yourself for the rest of your life. And I've always had that. Like I remember, this is kind of bringing memories to the surface for me. Like in whatever experience we had, now that I'm thinking about it, I always took these bold stances, sometimes kind of sporadically in school. Like there was this one thing in history where we had to like write about something, and I gave like this pro-life, anti-abortion like speech, and it was like a big deal. And they were like, "Oh, you need to send that letter to Obama," was the president at the time, and it probably didn't even make it into the mailbox. But like stuff like that, I just remember there would just be sort of like a surge of fire, like, oh, I have to speak on this thing. For whatever reason, there's always been a desire to like say things, you know, even if it wasn't as sharp yet.
Even at the expense of, like, let's say your family or something, if you had a job that you might lose as a consequence for saying something, you
Yes.
still think it's your moral duty to say said thing?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
already happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happened to people that we know, and we get death threats, and it's like, and it's a question of if everybody capitulates to that fear, then we're gonna live in a society where nobody is free to like say what they want to say. And so it's like, do we have a constitution? Do we actually live and operate in this constitutional democratic republic where we have inalienable individual rights, or are we actually slaves? Because if you can't say what's on your mind without risking your family losing access to resources, what does that actually say about the society that we live in? It's not about free speech, it's about social credit. And if you say something that challenges the norm, then you lose your social credit altogether. That's not a free society. I believe in being free. And I think that that doesn't come without a cost. I think if you want freedom, you have to fight for it in a sense. And I think part of the reason why we've ended up where we are now is because a lot of people don't want to pay that cost. And I'm not trying to be like self-righteous. We're just two normal guys. But I think that one of the reasons why what we're doing is going to become increasingly compelling is because we're trying to sort of overcompensate for the fact that people aren't really willing to pay that cost. It's like, I don't want to live in a slave surveillance state where people can't speak their mind. I'll die on that hill. I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm very passionate about that.
Freedom is not free.
Yeah.
You know, for most people, I might cast some doubt and say, if you were in that situation, maybe you would, you know, hold your tongue on that. But you're saying that this happened to you. Could you go into that a little bit about
With my job?
the experience?
Yeah.
Just
So,
don't maybe not say the companies.
oh, no. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the company, but I'm a sales professional. I worked at a place. They gave me a story as to what happened, and it could be true. I don't know for sure. At the time, I wasn't posting crazy stuff online. I think I was making some like funny anti-Israel sort of posts. Nothing really that potent.
It was the push-up one. You should tell them it was the push-up thing.
Yeah, like I did a couple where I was like push-ups for Israel, and I would go down and I would just like fail the push-up, or like I would do a bench press and I would like choke myself out on the bench press, just stuff like that. And the region that I worked at was run by Jewish people, and Jewish people typically don't like that. So that could have been a motivating factor. They told me that a client of mine found me, called in and complained. Totally possible. Water under the bridge, it is what it is. But yeah, I went without work for like 4 months. It sucked. But now I'm doing something else, and it is what it is. But I wouldn't change anything because it's funny, when I did that, I had absolutely no following on social media. I was posting to the void. Not only to the void, but to people that were just like, this is stupid, fuck you, kill yourself. Like there was zero support at all. But we just kept going. And then in September, like this was July of last year. So it's only been like less than like 5 months, 4 or 5 months.
Stick it out.
And then by August, September, like we had a couple videos go viral, and then we posted an Omegle video, and then you had like a white culture reel go like mega viral, and then we had a debate with a Jewish guy go viral, and then people like big accounts started DMing us and following us and like commenting, and we're like, okay, you know, the 5 people that we pissed off initially,
They're probably watching from the side.
yeah, they're just watching from the sidelines, and they never did anything for us to begin with, you know, and now we have all of the support, and we don't know exactly where it's going. But it was sort of, I had a lot of apprehension because I have a lot to lose. Like I have a daughter, I have bills, I have people to support, and it's not easy. So I was very much, we went back and forth on it a lot. He had to kind of talk me off the ledge a couple times because, you know, it's a direct and absolute permanent risk on your social credit. There's zero chance that I will ever be able to work a corporate job ever again. It's not possible unless some like based fucking Nazi owns a company and wants to hire me. But like it's either this or it's nothing. And there was just something in me though that just said like, just do it, like move forth, young one, you know, just get it done. And I just feel like I've been doing what I'm supposed to do, even though I don't know what that is exactly, you know?
What would you say to other people that are in a similar position? Because that obviously is a huge risk. That's like getting a face tattoo
Yeah.
when you want to be a lawyer or something, right? So
I
it just
wouldn't
depends.
recommend it personally, unless you have this. Here's the thing, you have to have this intuitive motivation. And if you have that, you're just going to do it anyway. If you don't have that, you don't need to be noble or a martyr, or like you can hold your views, and you can also allow your views to echo into society without making a social media post. There's more creative ways to do it. I've just always seen myself as someone who wants to be in the public eye because I think I have the ability to do that. Not everybody needs to do that. People like Nick Fuentes would say, hide your power level or whatever. I think that's probably the smartest move for most people, unless you want to be like a content creator, or you want to like be, if you want to get a face tattoo, because this is basically a face tattoo. Just, you know, I wouldn't lightly recommend this.
Yeah, and maybe it's easy for me to say because I'm young and I don't have a family yet, but I also feel like, it's also like, what's your excuse though too, you know? Like, everything like, I think it was you that told me everything is either a reason or it's an excuse. And I have people that DM me, you get DMs too of like, "Yo, I'm an esteemed chef," or "I'm a leader at a hedge fund," or "I own this company," or "I have family, and I commend you for your bravery, but I could never do X, Y, and Z." And it's like, what is the worth of your soul? You can risk losing everything materially to gain back the integrity of your soul, and that's priceless to me, and maybe that makes me self-righteous or whatever, but I don't know, like, I just feel like we have to start pushing back and saying what's on our minds, and people that have things to lose, if you have something to lose, then that'll make you speaking up more powerful because you'll be speaking for other people who have things to lose, you know? We can't, it's almost like, it's like this domino effect where everyone's kind of falling down and capitulating, and then the weight is kinda going on the next person, that person falls down, and then you and I are just kinda, like, colliding in the middle and just trying to, like, push it back in the other direction and, like, get people to stand back up for themselves, not to knock people down, but to stand back up. It's not about knocking people down. So, I don't know, maybe it's easy for me to say it probably is, admittedly, but I can only speak from my own experience too at the same time, you know, and I'm choosing to do this, so.
Yeah. That's interesting. That seems to be like a small point of disagreement between the two of you.
In what way?
Hiding your power level versus not, I guess. You think there's a moral duty to not capitulate whatsoever, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's just I guess that's more of a me thing. It's also a question of practicality, right? Like, I think if you're just a normal functioning person, I don't think you should go around screaming "nigger" for no reason or something
Yeah.
like that, or talking about the JQ. But, like, if you're a normal functioning person and you're, like, met with the socio-political pressures that are affecting us, then I think in that instance, you are required in a sense of duty to defend yourself.
I could have said that better. I guess what I meant was I do not lightly recommend, like, if you work at some hedge fund to, like, make a social media account and start talking about, like, demographic IQ differences.
Right.
I would say that, like, if you work at a corporation and they try to implement some, like, woke bullshit that's against your fundamental morals, not to just go along with it. Like, there's no way that I could do that. Even if I had a family to feed, I would have to figure it out a different way. I guess that's like, 'cause the way that we're doing it is, it's not for everybody, you know? Not everybody needs to be like a cultural kind of figure, you know?
Okay. So you're saying if faced with a problem, you have a duty to stand on your principles, but
Yeah.
you don't have to go out of your way and like be like a, talk about
Yeah.
race and IQ.
Well, there's other ways to do it, right? Like, you can act in the interest of your group without, making a Twitter account or whatever, and people are doing that.
But think about it like this, though. At a certain point, it will be required to go on the offense. You take Eric Orwell, who established Return to the Land. It's like 40 people in what, Arkansas, and they have 150 acres. Every other race in America has intentional communities, political representation, like specifically for that racial demographic. You have a few dozen white people that go into the sticks and say, "I want to start an intentional community." And a few months later, it's a fucking international incident. It's like at a certain point, the barbarians are going to come knocking on the door, and you can't just play defense forever. You have to be willing to sort of get up on your horse and ride for the boys. That's a stupid analogy, but
You gotta know what it is when the time comes.
yeah, you got to know what it is when the time comes. And everywhere I look, like I see people, and especially white people, not doing that. And that's the reason why we are where we are right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Society, like, look, we can say, and I'm not a negative person, but I think most people, regardless of what your political persuasion is, your identity, whatever your race, most people are not satisfied with the state of America. I think in large part that has to do with men, specifically white men, just not holding the line. That's just what I happen to believe.
Who were some of your non-political inspirations growing up?
Jack LaLanne was a big influence for me. He taught me the importance of fitness and just health and maintenance. I used to watch his black and white exercise routines when I was a kid. My dad showed them to me. So that's something that we shared together. Jack LaLanne, I think, is like a treasure. I wish we had people like that still. I wish we still had people like that in our world. He'd definitely be one of them. Non-political, obviously a lot of musicians as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of mine would be musical. My grandpa would be a big one. My
Yeah.
grandpa was a big influence on my life.
Jeff Lynne from Electric Light Orchestra, I think is like the most underrated musician of all time. I think he's one of the greatest music creators ever, and he doesn't really get mentioned a lot. Which is so people would not expect me because I'm like I guess kind of a semi-political MC, but we merge genres and nothing that we do sounds like that. But he really inspired me musically. I guess that's probably where one of the places where we get our desire to like mix stuff together is probably from like the Jeff Lynne,
Yeah.
System of a Down.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. My biggest influences would have been artistic at the time. I was a big film guy, so Quentin Tarantino, like huge Quentin Tarantino fan. System of a Down was like my favorite band forever. I mean, there's a million others, but yeah, it was all kind of artsy stuff back then.
Who were some of your other like directors that you liked or movies that you really like?
Quentin Tarantino was like my one because he just felt so unique. Who else? Recently, I think Ari Aster
He's great.
is like kind of the GOAT. A lot of Jews out there really representing.
Yeah, the Safdie brothers. Did you see Marty Supreme?
I didn't see that. Was it good?
It was great, but if you look at it too politically, you might not like it.
Sure, right. But, Timothy Chalamet, Jew, and, the Coen brothers, Jews, but phenomenal. Like Spielberg, like was it Kubrick a Jew?
I don't know Stanley Kubrick.
No, I don't think. I think he's
Scorsese.
Well, Scorsese's Italian. He might also be Jew.
I don't know. At least we got Vincent Gallo at least.
Vincent Gallo. I don't know. Look, the Jews, they deserve some credit. They've contributed to culture and science and all this quite a bit, and I can appreciate that. Most of these like anti-Semites will be like, oh, the Jews. But like, I don't know, dude. There's no like Louis C.K. He's like a Mexican Irish Jew, but at that, I think he's the best comedian ever. Like, there's some great Jews. Bobby Fischer, greatest chess player. There's some dope Jews out there.
Oh, I should have said Fisher as one of my influences.
You still can.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love Bobby Fischer, Yeah. He's a sniveling. No, maybe that was the first story because I was always like a questioner. I was always inquisitive when I was a kid because that's the tale. Like they always give you like a one phrase explanation for who a person in history is. And the one people always told me about Bobby Fischer was he was a chess master, but then he just lost his mind. And I was like, oh, really? So he lost his mind in the pursuit of chess mastery. But then it's like, okay, not exactly. It's more complicated than that. He had some interesting things to say, and he had ambitions outside of chess. And also his like connection between chess and life was also profound. And so I think he was one of the first things that made me start questioning like narrative control was like the Fisher thing.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, and a little bit more about Hollywood. I mean, it's either one of the two things. Everyone in Hollywood is a Jew because they're a Jew, or they were already that way, and that's why they were in Hollywood. I mean,
I think it's both. I think there's nepotism involved, but I also think that there's some Jews that are incredible artistic or incredible artists. Like
yeah. Well, they're part European, so they're gonna have creativity and IQ. The only I think the reason why Jews, the ones where you find them being so dominant, is because they have like that European admixture, but they're also like Machiavellian, demon worshiping, and like they're unwilling to compromise or apologize. So they'll take like European ingenuity and just like grind it into steel. But I do think Hollywood is like a Marxist thing though, overall. And it's creepy in that way. Like I sort of see it as them role playing as us, like they're wearing us as skin suits. Cause like they'll parade us around, and then they'll use that to like dismantle social hierarchies at the same time. So I do think that a lot of them are intelligent. That's another criticism I agree with like the white nationalist Wignat thing is like, I was just talking to this black guy. That's sort of the same way as like when a black person is smart and acknowledges European talent, they'll call them like a bootlicker, house nigga, that kind of thing. Right. When we acknowledge Jewish intelligence, our community will be like, oh, you guys took $7,000 from Israel. It's the same sort of like inside community punching up thing, but it's like, you do have to give credit where it's due. They are formidable and they are intelligent. It's just,
nothing is black and white.
They're not us though.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting too because Tarantino, I don't think you mentioned him as a Jew, but he converted to.
Yeah, he's a convert, and his wife is who lives in Israel now.
Yeah, he does.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're longtime music guys in a kind of an unconventional way. We never studied music theory or anything like that. We're all self-taught. He was always more on like the music production side. I was always more on the songwriting side. So I'm a longtime poet, MC. He's a longtime music producer. And I mean, I hit my first open mic when I was 13. He had got his first pair of turntables when he was 12. So we've been doing it for a long time. And, we got really good at what we do. I think we put our 10,000 hours in. And I think that anybody who listens to our craft will acknowledge that. But I think our experience in the music industry was us realizing that it's not really about meritocracy or how dope you are. It's kind of about power. And so somewhere along the line, we kind of talked to each other and we're like, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to keep doing the music, but we're also going to give some like hot political takes. And we're sort of going into this time right now where we're merging pop culture with comedy, with our musical stuff and with our political stuff. And I think that's what's kind of given us a rise in our come up on social media. and we're kind of merging it all under one thing, which we're calling FROJAX. And I think that's probably maybe what sets us apart from the crowd, is that we kind of have all these moving elements that we're putting into one thing.
Were there any specific like strategies to capture attention, let's say?
Controversy sells, dude.
Yeah.
It just does. Controversy sells.
Yeah.
I think we sort of caught the wave of like the new America First kind of stuff, but I think we add our own thing into it because there's a lot of people now getting radicalized and red pilled on things. You see it with these like women online, like these hot chicks, and they're like, Israel occupies the US, and it's just like gay now. So that like, it was like somewhat of a fad. And I think we got a lot of those people. We got a lot of like the Wignat people, but I think that we do also interest people because we're sort of unique. You know, we're refreshing. I think we can articulate things in a way that not everybody else does. And also, I don't agree with all the other people, like the main people in the movement. I don't agree with them.
We're not ideologues, I guess would be the way to say it. Like there is a little bit of flexibility and a desire to learn, which comes from the inquisitive nature, I guess, from our childhood. But people will see us and people will be like, yo, what book should we read? You guys are so professional, this and that. And it's like, we're very honest and candid about this is our setup, and he's working, I'm doing my thing, we're babysitting, we're just doing our best. And I think the stuff that people are seeing that's turning out good is us, just like he said, throwing it out into the void for 10 goddamn years and getting nothing but hate. Gatekeepers, haters, silencing, censorship. Like we just refuse to give up. I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's working for us, is we just kept at it, you know? And we're gonna keep going, so.
Yep. And I barely read, by the way. So I don't have any book recommendations. I barely read.
Really? So is it mainly like articles, podcasts, just gathering information firsthand?
Well, that's the thing, because like I know some information because I listen to people talk and I like listen to debates. Mostly it's like I'm into like philosophy and like long form, like theological stuff, but I don't like read often. I've probably read 10 or less books in my entire life. But yeah, nowadays I do intake a lot of information. So I listen to podcasts and shows. So I guess I still do consume stuff. So
yeah, that's funny. Like I could tell you like everything about Dostoevsky from Jordan Peterson. Never read it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's interesting. Earlier too, you did say you separated yourself from some of the people in the movement.
Yeah.
Would you care to say who that might be that you don't agree with?
Well, no, I mean I haven't like outwardly, you know, like disassociated myself, and I don't know a lot of the people in the movement. We met some of the people in the movement that are at our level, and then like the bigger people, there's like the Richard Spencers and the Nick Fuenteses, and I kind of told you what I think about him. Nick is different. He's a Catholic nationalist. I'm not. I think that's wrong. That's a fundamental disagreement. Everything else, I mean, as far as like geopolitics and stuff, he would know more about that than I. Like I'll just share his takes. That's fine. I think that's where he's strongest too, is in actual like politics. Who else? Who are the people that I like? The people that I really enjoy right now are people on YouTube doing like identitarian philosophical stuff, like Equifonte, is that his name? And then like Wyatt Stagg.
Yeah,
Basically,
Wyatt Stagg is good.
yeah, he takes like these long,
Really, really good, actually.
he does like an intellectual breakdown of like a movie, like 28 Days Later, and he sort of like associates it with like a cultural narrative, like white hatred or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting because that's more artsy, but it's also political at the same time. That stuff's really good too. Who else?
You might have to put me on. That sounds interesting.
Dude, I'll send you. It's like the guy that I was Equifonte, he has this video called The True Right. If anybody out there hasn't watched it, like it is incredible. It's such a good breakdown of like the political spectrum. It's fantastic.
Why do you think so many young people are shifting towards your ideology?
I think so many people are shifting towards this ideology, specifically young men, and even more specifically young white men like yourself, is because they have to. There's nowhere else for them to go anymore. There's nowhere else on the left that makes any sense, because the left is self-destructive and hates hierarchy and hates America and hates white people. The traditional white is Zionist and milquetoast and boring, and when they have power, they don't really let their balls swing. And so this dissident right camp is really the only place for a young, ambitious man to go at this point, because it's the only realm that tells them that their ambition isn't inherently evil. And so there is a sort of nurturing there that's happening. And like I said before, I'm not someone who wants people or white people to feel like victims. I want us to have victorious mindsets, but we do have to be honest about the landscape that we're living in. White people are overpaying into the tax system, white men specifically. They can't afford to have kids. Those tax dollars pay for genocide. They pay for non-white people to come here and exploit our system and social programs and welfare, etc. And then white people can't afford to have families anymore. Modern women are political tools of the state. that are designed to destroy men, take their assets away, mutilate their children's genitals. There's no financial incentive, really any sort of incentive that we can find anymore for a young white man to have a family, have kids, because everything is, it's like everything is opposition to us at this point. Everything has deemed themselves our enemy. And then the response to that from the older generation is, oh, my experience was XYZ. And so we don't really get any form of mentorship or guidance. We're kind of just out here underneath the veil of American consumerism and decadence, sort of strolling through no man's land, unsure of where to go and who the next leader is. And then as a response, our government says, oh yeah, here's 50-year mortgages. And so we're looking around and we're saying, we're trying our best every day, but what is the point of participating in this system that is designed to drain our soul of life force? And a lot of young men, a lot of young white men are rightfully coming to the conclusion that there is no longer any real incentive to participate in that destructive madness anymore. And so they're coming over here just like we did.
What do you think the most relevant issue is that's plaguing Western society specifically for white people?
Great replacement.
Yeah.
I mean, immigration by far. We're literally being replaced. I mean, it's twofold. One thing is we have a declining birth rate. And the other thing is we're importing a bunch of non-white people over here, and like race mixing in that. So it's not even the problem. The problem is taking jobs, increasing the population. Now here's the biggest thing for me, and this is something I've thought a lot about, is that even if we were to snap our fingers right now and every non-white person were to just be teleported out of the United States, we're 100% white ethno-state, we still have a replacement rate that is below replacement. We have a fertility rate that is below replacement. So to me, it's less about focusing on the other groups and it's more focusing about our group. It's going to be twofold. We have to deport a lot of people. A lot of people have to go. But I think that white people just need to focus on being more pragmatic and not be on Twitter and talking about how black people are stupid, how Jews run everything. Like, make friends, start acting in the interests of white people. That's all that we really have to do. And ultimately, when you do that at a large enough scale, we're unstoppable. So I do think that the demographic replacement is the biggest existential issue, but that in terms of what plagues our day-to-day life would be economic. I really think that there's going to be a big economic crash soon. I don't know when that is. I'm not an economist. I can't make a precise prediction, but I do feel things. I mean, I work in an industry where I'm a salesman, and I can sort of sense people's relationship to money, and it feels like things have been getting worse and worse and worse for a while, and inflation's getting worse. People aren't paying more. I've been reading these studies now where in 1995, making, was it $35,000 or $36,000 is the equivalent to making $120,000 now. So if you're making $120K now, you're like barely making it, really. Like if you have a family of 4, $10K a month is like, it's not that much money. And most of these existential issues, social issues, replacement, all of that, they're sort of secondary when really you're just focused on like, how do I pay a medical bill? How do I buy food? But if there's an economic collapse and people can't afford to buy food for any amount of time, that's when you're going to see people sort of default into their group loyalty. And if you don't have that already established, it would behoove you to do that now. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it right now, is with a little bit of foresight, I guess. Was that the question?
Yeah, it actually was. Yeah.
Okay.
To address the great replacement theory, how would you achieve combating that? Would you support denaturalizing citizens?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I'm starting to veer towards total remigration. Total remigration. I don't know how this would be done. If you listen to people like Steve Laws, he's in the UK. He's a total remigration English nationalist. Anybody out there that hasn't seen his interview with Andrew Gold, it's interesting to watch. I would say for me, and this will make me unpopular, and anybody that sees this that knows me may not like it, but ultimately it's going to come to a place to where if we continue at the rate that we're going, it's going to be a matter of survival. And if it comes to that, I think my line would be, if you don't have 3 or more white English-speaking American-born grandparents, you got to go. Yeah, I think we need to get rid of birthright citizenship. I think there's a lot of first, second generation immigrants that need to go. Obviously, the ones that take priority are the illegals. I don't even know how many illegals are here. 40 million, 50 million. That would solve a lot. And this is going to be an economic problem too, because there's a lot of people that are illegally here that are doing a lot of low wage labor. And if we get rid of 50 million people in a short amount of time, there is going to be probably a short-term economic implication there. But I do,
long term.
yeah, but the long term to me is like, I want my people to survive. I want European people to survive.
Yeah, that's a very important sort of caveat, is that there would be short-term economic implications if you're taking a substantial part of the population and just sending them home, we can call it. There's going to be economic ramifications, but it's also a question of long-term feasibility, which is to say that most non-white people, actually as groups, all of them, it's really only people of European descent and then small groups of Asians, which are measurably economic positives. Everybody else is economically a burden. And if you actually look at like the numerical breakdown of that, it is white people that are paying for that.
Yeah.
And I look around at my society, I look at the people I care about, and it's not because I hate anybody, it's not because I want to hurt anybody. It's I'm looking at people who I care about who are paying into this system and getting nothing in return. And so that is going to have to change, and people are feeling that. They may not want to say it out loud, they may not know how to articulate it like we do, but people are feeling it.
How do you reconcile advocating for an increase in state power, state authority, at the same time of being, generally anti-establishment?
Yeah, well, it has to do with the fact that I'm no longer a libertarian. I used to always think that the problems that we have in society were a matter of government overreach or overregulation. But it's also a matter of power is going to exist regardless of who opposes it. It's a question of who would you prefer to be in power? If you had to choose, would you prefer someone of your own kinship be in a position of power ruling over you? Or would you prefer to have a foreign adversary who is actively pushing an agenda to the detriment of you and your people? The answer becomes very clear when you put it into that context, when you frame it that way. And so I think coming from a libertarian mindset, I always was very wary of power because I understand inherently that power corrupts people, and those who desire it in excess usually cannot be trusted. But then somewhere along the lines, I realized that to think that power just shouldn't be there is actually idealistic, and people will always be vying for power. It's just a matter of who occupies that position.
Look at it this way, Adolf Hitler, he's a right-wing dictator, incredibly popular for his people. Even like Putin, a Russian dictator, effectively, incredibly popular by his people. It's like, who is in power? Who is the establishment? That's what I would say.
It's like, that's precisely is the difference in that situation when you frame it that way is that at least with Putin, you know who's running the show. Who's running the show right now? You couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me. We think about this stuff and we care about this stuff. We don't really know. We can like vaguely say special interest, lobbyist, Trump a little bit, his cabinet. That's not what's going on here. There's nothing transparent or honest about any of this. And so I would almost respect somebody who is more candid in that, look, absolute power corrupts, absolutely, but at least I know where the power is positioned,
Okay, total. So that would be a reform of the system then too, because
Yes.
you wouldn't allow for, let's say, a non-white to be democratically elected afterwards,
No.
would you?
Absolutely not. No. I don't even think that non-white people should run businesses or do anything important. I think we could make exceptions for it, but
And I would take it a step further. Like, I think I should be an American too. Like some guy from fucking Spain who like moves here, he doesn't get to be, of the president.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Or some guy from Germany comes here. If he establishes citizenship and has family, offspring, that's, if you're born here, maybe that's a little bit different. But I think it would be total reform of like the system.
Well, that would be a non-starter in your worldview, right? Too, because you're saying at least one, you'd have to be here for 1 or 2 generations, right?
Yeah, you'd have to be at least a second generation immigrant and European,
Well, it's a good, I appreciate the fact that you're pushing back a little bit. But here's what I would offer in response is that we could say that the way that we're viewing this in a sort of like revolutionary mindset isn't consistent with like what America is supposed to be. But even if we were absent from the conversation, is the America that you live in right now what America is supposed to be? Is this really like a pure constitutional democratic republic? Are we represented as American people? Is the Bill of Rights, has that been well preserved when it really matters? Or do people really have individual rights? I don't think so. I don't think we really do.
If Thomas Jefferson was here right now, would he agree more with us or more with like a libertarian?
That's a good way of framing it, because if the question is this really consistent with like what America is, that's something to consider, So I would pose that to the audience. The America that you live in, is this really what America is supposed to be?
I don't think people really care about that as much as they pretend to.
True.
What America was supposed to be at its founding. No one actually looks into what their intentions were. I mean, I would make the argument that we're a Protestant country. You guys might not even agree with that. I'm not sure if you do.
No,
We are.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. But nobody else likes to admit it.
No, we absolutely are. Yeah.
And I don't even really care. I care about pragmatically what's best.
So you're a Roman.
What's that?
So you're like a Roman.
Hey, man,
pragmatically, what is the best? No,
I've got loyalty to the Vatican.
I would agree with that too, because I believe what I believe because I think it's pragmatic.
Yeah.
The best, right or wrong. But
Not
I would,
because
I
it's
would,
consistent with American
But
founding.
Yeah.
but even then, I would still reframe it to you of like, is what we have right now, is this a pragmatic
Right.
America? You know, like
I think what would pragmatically be best is if we had white people running the show again. I mean, I don't know how anybody could disagree with that. I have non-white people who tell me that they agree with that. I would want white people to run the show if I was black or something. Fuck, dude, their lives are so much better when white people make all the decisions.
For me, I even agree. I would say it's preferable. I'm just not sure it's worth the cost of reforming the system. Somebody else in power that I don't agree with the same power. Obviously, that's a shit
True,
show.
but we know where we're going is
yeah,
inevitable death and destruction.
and it's also already happening right now though too. You know,
Yeah, I mean, if like a transgender regime just popped up because we allowed this to happen, I mean, that's, I guess that's something that I wouldn't.
A transgender regime.
I'm using that as like an extreme example, but I'm just saying that somebody that holds the opposite views that wield the same amount of power, that's kind of why we have the guardrails in place, is so that we limit our own power.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that goes out the window.
The idea is like, you're saying like, if there was like a totalitarian regime, you would want that person to not be something that's against your interests.
Well, yeah,
But that's exactly what I believe, is that I think there should be a totalitarian regime, even if it's temporary, and it's for things that are directly in our interest, which would be the interests of the overall racial group.
Also, when you're talking about guardrails, I assume you're referring to like constitutional checks and balances, that kind of. Yeah, well, I would argue that those guardrails have completely been corroded. I don't really think that they exist anymore. You know,
yeah, but are they non-existent though?
why is Derek Chauvin in prison right now? We just tossed all that into the garbage bin. You know, like when it really matters, when the pressure is on the plate, we don't really have the rights that we think we do as Americans. And if we did, we wouldn't be afraid to even have a conversation like this to begin with, honestly. I mean, if we really think it through, I don't think we have the freedom that we think we do. I think that the illusion is very compelling, but I think that our brains have been ripped.
Yeah, I think so too. If the people in power really have something against you, the Constitution is just a piece of paper somewhere in a museum.
If you're really a person of consequence, they don't care about rights.
Yeah.
They don't. And I think it's all dependent upon good-natured people still believing in it too. I think that's how they get away with it. But I feel like I'm going away from what was the original question?
No, it's okay. I'm just interested in this point because this is kind of where I diverge from you guys.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, just state power. Like I'm very, and maybe I haven't developed politically to the point where I'm willing to accept something like that as a solution. But I'm very, very wary when it comes to increased state power.
I know that you're interviewing us, but just curious, like, how do you think we get out of this? Because I think we agree on what some of the problems are. How do you think? I mean, we can cut this out of this, but I'm just
Culture, people. I believe, I think it'll be secondary towards remigration. I agree with that.
Okay, so are you like total remigration, or are you like?
I wouldn't want to denaturalize citizens. Is all. That's kind of a line that, I mean, you see what happens with the regime every time, so it's like you can abuse, if the power can be abused, it will be abused. Next thing you know, it's used for political gain and has nothing to do with what race you are, where you came from, or anything. So I'm still wary of
just
that.
Got here and shit. Like you wouldn't want to send them back.
I guess, okay, so we would make stipulations for, how long you've been a citizen, I guess. I mean, if you're a citizen under birthright, then I would count that as illegitimate, so it wouldn't even matter to me.
So like anchor babies and everything they get to stay?
No, I would say that's illegitimate.
Oh, okay. So you would say like third generation and back would be good.
I don't totally disagree with you on that specific point. Yeah. So I think it would just be a consequence of the country changing.
You're saying you
that
wouldn't send black people back that have been here for 400 years?
No, I would keep them, yeah. You have to.
That's bold.
How's that bold?
You don't have to.
I would just have, I mean, it's one of those things that like you have to win within the system because we have to have faith in the system. And like I said, maybe I haven't developed.
You're talking a lot like a white person right now.
What do you mean?
The reason why like we have to make so many concessions, the reason why we're in the position right now is because we're like nice white people that go, we just have to like oblige the system. Like black people would go, yo, fuck this white boy.
Every other group in this context is like, let's go kill them all.
Yeah, fucking dude. I was just in Washington, D.C. I saw a lot of white people paying and beep and going on the subway. All the black people jump that bitch. It's against the law, but they don't give a fuck. They can't even conceive of the manpower it took to invent the technology and build the subway system. They're going, yeah, nigga, yeah, and then just jump that shit.
Here's a question, and I hope you don't feel like we're coming at you at all, but it's an interesting, it is fascinating. We should play this out a little bit. Can you actually name one measurable benefit that we get from keeping black people in our society?
I think that's aside from the point though, because like it's not because we're not doing like a cost analysis on people.
Why, hold on, but why? But okay,
maybe,
but why not, or why shouldn't we do that though? If our own survival is at stake, why should we not be analyzing the cost or
it's a moral thing
or benefit of other people existing in our country?
Well, because then where do you stop? Are you going to deport white people that are drains on society too, or why would you arbitrarily pick race in that context, right?
I don't think it's arbitrary in that context because whites are at least our people. You know what I mean? Like there's fucked up whites, but they're at least our people. Like we would have to deal with them. We'd have to put them in prison or whatever it is, take them off the street. But they're still.
You're getting rid of draining members of society, but then you would be instilling homogeneity. That's why the racial component takes precedence here, I would say, in terms of importance. And homogeneity creates, longevity, I would say.
Right, but you're asking like, why shouldn't we do the cost analysis on people? And my answer would be like, for the same reason we wouldn't do it against white people. It's just kind of,
But
they're here. What do we do about it?
But the analysis for white people is here. We know the analysis, though, is that white people are a net benefit to society. And that we can measure that out, too.
So if you look at the actual numbers of this, if you look at like an individual's economic contributions throughout their life, white people, it's an average of like $280,000 paid into the system. It's green. It's a positive. Every other race is negative.
I'll ask you this.
Except for Asians.
I'll ask you this. If that wasn't the case, what would you say? Would you say that
if that wasn't the case, there would be no evidence for why different racial groups are a drain on society? That's like saying if blacks didn't commit all the crime, would you not? It's like, yeah, they would.
Well, it's not just about money. It's about crime too. And black people kill a lot of white people too. And people don't talk about this. We're one of the groups, a couple of people that are very open about this. It's not just about money. It's actually, here's what's profound about it, dude, is that every category is in the negative in this case. Every category.
Economic.
Cultural attitude.
But wouldn't that just be incidental because you have an allegiance and a pride with your people and my people and the American people, and isn't that the root
No,
in
I
which
think
you're
it's
speaking from? That's what I'm saying though too. I'm saying the same thing.
But it's not just incidental because it's quantifiably true too. It's not a product of like internal bias or something like that. It's actually, you can take it to the whiteboard and measure it out.
Let me ask the question differently because I think it came off.
Okay.
That's not what I meant.
Go ahead.
I'm saying like those factors, the fact that we have less crime, aren't those incidental? Like meaning that you would support your race anyways, and those just happen to be positive for us. Those aren't the reasons in them of themselves on why you support us staying in our.
Oh, okay. So you're saying, wouldn't I just be for white people and their interests, even if we were like the insects of society? I would actually say no. If I thought the way that I think now, because I don't necessarily prefer white people just because I'm white. I prefer them because they're the most tolerable, tolerant, kind people.
Yeah.
Like everybody likes white people.
But the answer would actually still be yes, because if we were reactionary, we're reacting to the fact that every other person's answer to that question would unequivocally be yes, because everybody still thinks that. Like even people who would be honest about the fact that their demographic is like a net negative, it would still prefer pushing the interest of their own group because it's their group.
Like look at blacks. They have the most in-group preference of any other people other than maybe Jewish people. Even if a black person knows that black
Look at what they do when a
drain
black
on
person
society.
murders someone innocent.
Yeah, a black person can kill somebody and then other black people will defend them just because they're black. Yeah. Out of principle, like I have morals, so I wouldn't defend a white person just because they're white if they did something I'm morally against.
Which is what makes you a white person.
Right, which is what makes white people white, because that's how they have more of like principles. So I don't think my racial preference has to do with like it's specifically only racial, but I do think that it's demonstrably the case that white people build superior societies.
Okay, and I would agree with that. I'm just wondering because I'm still connecting it to the like cost analysis thing, and that's kind of why I bring that up. I'm like, well, doesn't that just not even matter? The fact that we're, a better.
Well, I guess I would bring it.
That's interesting.
I would bring it back to the original question though, which is that could you actually name one thing, like one benefit from tolerating this demographic in our country?
I'll answer it anyways. Yeah, I mean, maybe I would say cultural, but that the net drain is still there, so I don't know.
The culture's pretty shitty too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that too, but like
music,
I gotta say, like I am like a fan of a lot of rap music, and you participate in rap music, so like obviously like there's some good things there.
So rap music, spoken in English, but it is it's interesting. Using microphones. Yeah, using microphones invented by white people and all that, and then record labels which are all Jewish. I don't know, like yeah.
In my opinion, the answer is there's no benefit overall.
Yeah, like I like rap music, but if having no rap music ever meant like white people don't get ripped, I'd take no rap music.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that I don't know if we should go into stats. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but
Beat it.
well, you know what the stat is about interracial crime and stuff like that. Are you aware of the violence?
I know about the disparity. I don't know the numbers though.
It's
It's like a black person is 41 times more likely to kill you than you are to kill them.
Or even a black woman versus a white man.
Yeah.
Black woman,
So it's not gendered.
a black woman is it's the only exception between. So men are more violent than women. The only exception is black women. It's a singular exception.
men are so much more violent than women
profound.
that 90% of prison inmates are men.
That's profound if you think about it. So it's like, why are we still doing this? Is my question.
I get it. No, I get it. Yeah. It's just like I said, maybe I haven't progressed or radicalized to the point where I'm willing to like, commit to the final solution, right? But
Well, it's not.
so I'm still
Yeah.
working it out, man. I try to love people if I can. It's just a tough thing for
If
me
the
to work
final
out.
solution is putting them on nice boats and bringing them back to a place, like I don't want to kill anybody, but they gotta go. Most of them. Like
You still have to use
most.
violence to make it happen, though, of course.
Sure. I mean, you have to use force. I don't know about violence.
It's like the same thing, though. No.
I guess, but if they don't resist, then you're just moving someone. You know what I mean? Like it's like ICE. You could say ICE uses violence, but they'll use violence if they're met with like.
Yeah, it's the black question is it's interesting too because it would be different if they had some semblance of national pride or national identity, but they don't. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were disconnected from their foundational culture, which was African. And I think that there's tragedy in that, but we spend so much time acknowledging that and like massaging that and like being therapists for that. And it's like they're kind of left over as this remnant of people that are they don't respect white people. They don't respect American principles. Like the apprehension that you have to concentrated power, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't even conceive of that. And so it's like, what are they actually? They don't even believe in like the American identity. And I know that's very harsh and it's very raw, but I was just talking to this really smart black guy and I asked him straight up, I said, look, if all black people thought the way that you think could have a conversation, we wouldn't have any racial issues in our country. But do you think all black people actually want to like be proud, patriotic Americans? And he was like, no. And it's like, okay, then like, what are we supposed to do with that? We have this demographic of people that are causing significant issues and they don't even call themselves American. Like, what is that? I don't know.
We brought a bunch
Yeah.
of people here from like almost like uncontacted tribes. We brought like basically tribal people here. We enslaved them and then we just let them loose. It was a huge mistake. We should have never done it. I kind of feel bad about it. Frankly, if the roles were reversed, it would have been way worse for us. Like, do you think that black slave owners would have treated white people better or worse?
Well, they didn't. We know that.
Right. And it's like we can have like this moral quibble about it, but the reality is like when we freed the slaves, because the North and the South debated about this for a long time, and that's where the 3/5 compromise came from and all that. And there were small groups that we actually ended up repatriating over to Africa. And when we sent them back to Africa, the first thing that the freed black slaves did was enslave the local Africans. So it's like this slavery thing isn't unique to any one group. It's just the fact that we melded people into society. We just should have never done that.
Yeah, and we say all of that, by the way, not to like virtue signal and like we'll get shit from people in the movement, but like we say that like even as people who like have a couple of black people that we care about and consider like close friends. And so like we still hold space for the idea that like we can look at someone as an individual and like it's dope. But if we're talking about groups and we're talking about survival, you have to start also unpacking some really uncomfortable stuff as well. So I still hold space for both. I still try to look at people as individuals. But that topic is, I think, necessarily harsh, unfortunately, I would say.
Yeah. I'm not closed off to it either
Yeah.
at the same time. How long do you think it would be before there's a candidate that's even willing to do something like that?
I don't think it'll be a candidate.
Yeah, the person that's going to get the job done isn't going to be a politician.
Yeah.
I don't think. No.
I think it's someone that just signals a rallying cry and
No, it's going to be like an optimati. It's going to be somebody who either comes from the elite class or has elite characteristics and understands this struggle and understands the necessary pushback. I don't think it's going to be some like lowbrow wignat retard who just screams nigger. I don't advocate for that kind of behavior because, and I would even criticize Trump on this, like with the ICE stuff, like I support remigration, but I don't support cruelty. And so I actually like that actually matters to me. Like making montages of people getting like their family split apart. I think that's fucked up. I don't think we should laugh about that. Or like the woman that got shot. I think it was a justified self-defense, but I don't think we should laugh about it. I think we should do what we need to do to protect and preserve our country, but I don't want to punch down on people. I really have zero interest in cruelty. And so that's, I think, something that does set me apart. And I think the person that will ultimately get this job done will understand that as well. Because the cruelty thing has become this meme where you want to like flex to other people to like show them how racist you are. I find that unappealing.
And true cruelty is allowing things to continue the way that they're going now.
It's true.
Allowing black people to just hate us and kill each other in our society that we built, rape white people, and then white people be guilty about it. It's better if we just separate. It's better for both parties if we just separate, That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing about Trump and like the montages, like, yeah, we're deporting people. All that's doing is he's morally posturing to the right wing to make it seem like he's actually deporting people, which he isn't.
They still haven't released the numbers, by the way. Like the official deportation numbers haven't actually been released since Biden's administration.
Yeah, you know that? Yeah, they're suppressing them.
how much isn't it under 500,000?
Yeah, it's like I've heard estimates from 300 to 600, but we don't know for sure.
That's literally like even if we say he deports like 1 million people by the end of his administration, I think they said it's by the end it's supposed to be 900,000. First of all,
He'll be more than that.
relative to what's warranted, that's nothing. Relative to how many of them there actually are, that's nothing. So all it's doing is stoking the flames between the left and the right, and all the innocent people who are just trying to get by are going to be left more uncomfortable and more divided. It's not getting the job done. And so I recognize, look, being the leader of a country is probably the hardest job in the world, but like stoking the flame as you like exit the building, I think is really lacking grace in that situation.
I just reacted to Trump's tweet. I think it was this morning or yesterday,
Mhm.
where he said, if you carry a gun in the street, you are a criminal. I don't know if you saw him say that. Did you?
No.
No, in response to the thing in Minnesota, or
Yeah. Well, it was in response to that guy.
Well, the crazy thing about Trump and like the montages, like, yeah, we're deporting people. All that's doing is he's morally posturing to the right wing to make it seem like he's actually deporting people, which he isn't.
they still haven't released the numbers, by the way. You know, like the official deportation numbers haven't actually been released since Biden's administration.
Yeah, you know that? Yeah, they're suppressing them.
How much isn't it under 500,000?
Yeah, it's like I've heard estimates from 300 to 600, but we don't know for sure.
That's literally like even if we say he deports like 1 million people by the end of his administration, I think they said it's by the end it's supposed to be 900,000. First of all,
He'll be more than that.
relative to what's warranted, that's nothing. Relative to how many of them there actually are, that's nothing. So all it's doing is stoking the flames between the left and the right, and all the innocent people who are just trying to get by are going to be left more uncomfortable and more divided. It's not getting the job done. And so I recognize, look, being the leader of a country is probably the hardest job in the world, but like stoking the flame as you like exit the building, I think is really lacking grace in that situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like he's willing to die on the hill too. But you know the video I'm referring to?
The man that got shot by ICE.
Yeah.
Well, it looked to me, if you're asking me to react to this most recent ICE shooting, it looks like another demoralized white person who thinks that they're freedom fighting for innocent people.
Was it a white person that got killed?
It was the male nurse, I think, or emergency responder, something like that. It's a demoralized white who thinks that he's freedom fighting for innocent people that are getting kidnapped by the government because Trump's a fascist. Once again, I don't want to crack jokes and like laugh at somebody dying, but it looks to me like somebody resisting arrest, and then apparently he pulled a gun as well. And it's like, I feel like in any context, you shouldn't try to fight somebody who has the authority to shoot you. And this is the reason why black people end up in these situations too, is like they don't cooperate. Even if it is unjustified, take it through the legal proceedings, but like pulling a gun on somebody who has the authority to shoot you, why would you do that? I just don't see the.
I'm starting to get so radical to the point where it's like, oh, okay. So
What do you think about what I just said though? Like, what are your
Well, I
thoughts?
would just it's tough because it's a video that we're looking at.
True.
I
Good
don't think he
response.
did pull the gun out, and I think they had the gun like about 10 seconds before they shot him. So it was a weird situation.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not here to like defend.
No, fair enough. And I think your response is very good because people want to jump to this is the hot take without really knowing all of the evidence. And I think even that, like contributing to like the consumerism of hot political takes when you don't really have all the knowledge makes it worse too. So I agree with you of like, we don't have all the evidence, so we can't really know for sure. All I would say to people is like, just cooperate though. Usually is the best thing to do.
only criminals carry guns on our streets. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Is it a
to me.
longer tweet than that? I had to find it from Grok because I couldn't find
It
it.
was a little bit longer, but that's basically what he said. That's kind of it. He's just pretty much telling you if you carry a gun in the street, you're branded as a criminal and you're a threat automatically.
Well, that's retarded because
He has a Second Amendment.
yeah, we have the Second Amendment.
So he's just being a prick then.
I want it to be made very clear to people that you should not fuck with ICE, and if that means citizens getting shot in the face, it's a very unfortunate byproduct. But
Or
if-
police in general.
yeah, I mean, if they're interfering with this, it needs to be made abundantly clear that that's not acceptable. I mean, the fact that people think that they can do that or that they're justified in doing that, it blows my mind. And the fact that they're jumping to rescue people that literally hate them, and the thing that they're trying to prevent isn't even happening at a fifth of the scale is what it should be happening. If someone could get in there, clean up the streets, and just do the job, and everyone could feel the results of that, no one would have a problem with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we could just jump to the part where we're like racially homogenous again and it's a high trust society, people would be like, oh yeah, I guess, that's, no problem.
Yeah.
People would just sort of like default into acceptance of it.
The only caveat I would add to that, just to be more nuanced here, is that I've heard some people talking about some of the ICE officers having received military training or some sort of police training through the IDF. And one of the arguments here is that this is going to set a sort of surveillance state precedent where if you're not just an illegal immigrant, but if you're like anti-Israel, then ICE has the authority to like, deport you or something like that, which is an interesting argument because based off of Trump's moves throughout the second administration, I wouldn't hold it past him doing something like that because he has deported people who were here on visa or people who were here as students who were critical of Israel and pro-Hamas, and they got deported out of the country. And so those two things in conjunction with each other, I do think could potentially be a slippery slope prospect for just normal American people. It's like,
But the people that got deported for being pro-Hamas, weren't they like exchange students?
yes, well, that's what I just said. They were like on visa, or they were students who were like studying out of country, but still like there's a bit of apprehension I have around that of like, is there going to be a line drawn there for people like us who are Americans?
That's kind of the point that I was making.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the ideal for me would be ICE isn't the ones doing it.
Right. That's exactly it.
Yeah, like, but what they're doing is what should be done.
Right.
That's what makes sense. That's the only reason I would defend them. They're still federal agents to our government who I oppose. So, but yeah, the ideal would be not ICE doing it.
Yeah, I think this is largely performative, what's going on with ICE. I don't actually think that they're making a big difference with remigration. I think it's a little silly.
It's a show.
Actually.
It honestly, he's just trying to appeal to the base a little bit.
And the people getting shot, it's really not helping. All it's helping is people hating Trump more, which is retarded.
But he plays into their hand though. That's what's so
He
weird
does.
to me. I
He
don't
does.
understand the hype edits either, or which honestly they're pretty cool. They get me riled up a little bit, but like that tweet too, it's just like it
Well, look at
seems
it
like
this
it's
way.
all intentional to like stoke
Yes,
flames.
yeah.
They're stoking flames, and everyone's talking about mass migration or mass deportation, and Trump's crazy. Everyone has this like illusion that we're actually really deporting a lot of people, which will make people not really notice the fact that like when I take my daughter to the park, everyone just speaks fucking Spanish. I notice that shit. We're not getting rid of the people that we should be getting rid of, It is performative, and it does play into just, oh, did you hear about Trump? Oh, that woman got shot. We have this illusion that everything, it's really happening. It's going down. They're barely deporting anybody. Biden let in, it was 2 million a year or something like
A
that.
total of 10, was it?
Yeah, I have the number was 10. So if they're telling you 10, it's going to be more too.
Yeah, if they're telling you 10, it's probably 12, and we're only deporting, what, 600,000 a year? We'll have 2 million out by the end of Trump's term. And then what, whoever gets it next, then what? Like, then more come in?
It's going to have to be, and I'm so sorry to just kind of slice through here. It's going to be like, we need a dictator within like 10 years, or it's fucking over. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Like everything that you love and that I love is fucking over. I really believe that. Like suburbia, infrastructure. Like I went to Mexico a couple weeks ago, and everybody was nice. I don't have a problem with them. There's too many of them in America, but like I'm looking around at like the way things work. They don't have like centralized air conditioning. When you wipe your ass, you can't flush it. You have to put it into the trash bin. So there's like a shit trash bin. You walk down the street and there's just open manholes that are like 10 feet deep, and you can just fall in, and like the pavement is like cracking around it. And it's like, if we don't do something, it's going to look like that everywhere. And that's going to metastasize and spread its reach, and then suburbia and all like the good stuff, it's not going to exist anymore. And Trump, I think, is impeding on us actually making progress and pushing back against that, because he's making it seem like we're doing something about it, but we're really not. But yeah, I mean, look, I know that's extreme, but look,
It's either going to be a dictator, or it's going to be there's some sort of collapse.
Yeah.
There's like multiple warring factions or something like that. And then like maybe a part of the country secedes from, that's maybe a little bit more out there,
Yeah,
but it's possible too.
It's a gamble. Like we're putting this out there, and we're humble enough to say we could be wrong about all this, but I do feel like
I hope we are. I hope in 10 years there's like a new right-wing guy and he figures it out because he's elected and everything's
JD Vance is second.
Yeah, JD Vance is going to fix it all. I mean, I hope that's true. I hope I'm a crazy crash out neo-Nazi. That would be awesome, because then I can just live the rest of my life
in peace.
Yeah, I'll be cool with that. Hey, you're that guy that crashed out for 2 years. Sure, okay.
I've got a great country. I don't give a
Yeah, I got a good country now. I'm chilling, yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna play a little bit of a game. It's called the name game. I'm gonna list a name. You're gonna give me 2 to 3 words a piece. Okay, we're gonna start with Don Lemon.
You go first.
Not American.
Gay black fish bait.
Nick Fuentes.
Political savant. I gave the same answer. I don't know if that's allowed, but okay.
I'm not the biggest fan, but I definitely don't think he's a Fed. He can stay.
No, I'm joking. Joseph Stalin.
Consequential, yet antithetical to my beliefs.
Georgian Iron Fist.
Mussolini.
Base. Mediterranean bravado.
Real quick, I don't know if you saw one of the Fishback campaigns. He makes a video. He says, here at Florida, we're going to make the trains run on time. He puts out this video that says he knew what he was doing with that, though, but it's just, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyways,
More pandering, if you ask me, but it's good.
you know, Aiden Ross.
Yet endearing.
I don't trust him. I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
Sneeko.
Authentic but brown. Has that been my answer for everything?
Candid brownie podcaster.
I can see you guys collabing though.
Yeah, I can see it too. Honestly, totally open to it.
Clavicular.
Plastic, fake, just reject it. No. The answer's no.
Product of a sick society, probably an industry plant.
Asmongold.
Moderate commentator.
I kind of like Asmongold. I'd say I'd like to pinch his cheeks. Yeah, I like to hang out with him.
Joe Rogan.
Normie, classical liberal, entry level manosphere.
Accessible yet bygone.
Cash Patel.
Deeport.
Squirming brownie.
Myron Gaines.
A real nigga. Stood on business.
Sudanese on the outside, white on the inside.
Andrew and Tristan Tate together.
Loyal.
Brotherhood.
Hassan Piker.
No actual ideology, just internet, just sweaty internet, greasy, brown.
Turkish nepotism.
True. Destiny.
Melting ice cream cone. But he's smart though. Smart.
It's like what happens when you have a high IQ person with no testosterone. It's just that.
Yeah. Ton of autism and
Yeah.
intelligence. Alex Jones.
He's been in the game a long time.
Endearing.
OG.
OG.
I love Alex Jones. I can't.
I
lie.
do too. He's
gotta
like
love
he feels like family almost.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Deeport, not an American.
Curry.
And not the good kind either, like the yellow curry, not even the green or the red curry, is the yellow curry.
Ones that smell bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tucker Carlson.
Vest.
Fake good old boy.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
War criminal.
A pawn perceived as a king.
Jared Taylor.
Uncle Jared.
Respect.
Matt Walsh.
Milk toast.
Chubby goyim.
Steven Crowder.
Oh, milk. I want to change him to milk toast. Steven Crowder. Probably a nice guy in person.
Jock pundit.
Candace Owens.
Woman. Black.
Black woman.
Kanye West.
Dynamic music producer.
Eccentric.
Jordan Peterson.
Goated psychologist.
Youngian who dresses like a flamboyant beer student.
Gavin McInnes.
Homie.
Original hipster.
Byron Donalds.
Apex Shakur.
Okay. I've got another game here. It's called the this or that game, meaning you got to pick this or that. There's going to be two options I'm going to give you. You're going to tell me which one is preferable.
Oh, I'm very decisive. No
Okay.
problem.
All right. So, would you rather have a fat black gay woman as your permanent inner monologue
Oh God.
or knock 4 inches off of your height?
I'm 6'5", so I can afford it. But as few black women as I can listen to.
Is it still like my brain, my IQ, everything, but like the voice is just Shaniqua?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Aristotelian, right?
The aristocratic principles of nature, incompatible with the Swiss doctrine.
Yeah.
That'll no doubt affect you psychologically, though. Like, can't do anything about that.
I gotta be 6 foot then. We'll go there, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be 6'1" and I'll just looks max.
Just throw some inserts in. Follow the method.
Yeah.
Gay son or thought daughter?
Gay son. Absolutely.
God. Is there not a third option here?
You could die if you want, I guess.
You might as well be dead in that situation. I don't know.
That's such an easy one.
Well, is it?
Are you kidding? You can just have another son, but your daughter's a whore?
Both of those things need to get slapped
If
around.
your son's gay, you just be like, yeah, well,
But how
it's little Timmy. He's a
so how can you reform a gay boy? What, can you have more kids in this situation?
You do whatever you want.
Of course, you can have more kids.
Hmm.
Who's to say the gay kid isn't also a thought? Just getting railed every
Oh.
day or something, you know?
Yeah, so you didn't think.
Oh, I see.
Have you seen the data about homosexual promiscuity?
Yeah, we know. We know the data.
Dude, you got to burn both of those kids.
You got to pick one. See,
Oh.
Jackson doesn't know how to just pick.
Okay.
two things.
But like choosing the woman, I'm going with the. I gotta
I
go.
told you.
Okay.
It's an easy choice.
I'll go with the son, I guess.
It's an easy choice.
Because it's a guy.
Because you could at least tell him, like, hey, just have kids.
Yeah.
Like, you can be gay, just have kids. But if you're a whore, it's.
You could just abandon them all, I guess, if you wanted to, and just start a new family.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
also
do that.
possible.
I'll do that.
All these things are possible. Anyways,
I'll do that. Yeah.
my next question. You're either forced to scream racial slurs every time you see a minority.
That one. Else.
Yeah. We'll do that one.
Can I give you the second op?
Oh, yeah. What's the other one?
Or you get erectile dysfunction, but you can use Viagra.
Oh, the first one sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already do that. No, just kidding.
I mean, Viagra just. How well does Viagra work?
I don't know. I don't got the details, but
This has been.
those are the options.
Yeah, racial every time though, like you get pulled over by an officer.
Wait, is it
Yeah.
like, okay, so would you keep going, or it's just like one and done?
With the racial slurs?
Yeah. Is it like you get pulled over, or like it calms down, or is it like Tourette? It's sporadic. It's sporadic.
Yeah, it's like Tourette's, yeah. But you say it every time. It's like
Oh, but then-
consistent
So
Tourette's.
you might get your ass kicked all the
But then I could just play it off as Tourette's.
You could do that in any situation. Play it off like Tourette's. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anything that allows my dick to still work. Though your dick may not work after.
So
all
okay,
that
so
end here.
my fantastic dick works, and I can say the N word. I'm going with that one.
Because you're right. You do get pulled over by a cop. You're fucked there. You're fucked in like most situations where you're downtown Orlando. I don't know. You've been there.
Oh, we've been there. We've been
Oh my
there.
god, yeah.
That's a shit show, bro. I keep getting those videos in my feed
Dude,
I
of
know.
just someone walking around with metal glasses.
Yeah.
It literally is like a third world shit hole you walk through.
It
People are like
sucks,
fighting
Alex.
and twerking and doing all sorts of
Yeah.
shit. It's crazy.
A lot of nogs.
You either get to become a Jewish athlete or a black mathematician.
That's a great. Did you come up with that?
You either quit too.
You get to.
Okay, well, what kind of Jewish athlete are we talking about? Like, is there more
Like
information?
Mort Goldberg. Or what's that guy from Family Guy? Mort something?
Like, are we talking like track runner or like an Olympic pole vaulter?
Whatever he's not good at, like stereotypically.
Whatever.
Like,
Like, they're
like
not good at
basketball,
nothing. They're
maybe?
good at nothing.
Anything athletic.
Yeah, they're not athletic at all.
Like a boxer, I guess you'd be a
That'd be
boxer.
so
like
funny.
a-
A Jew in the 100-meter dash. That would be hilarious.
Well, like if you're asking me, would I rather be a Jew or a black person be a Jew?
His yarmulke.
Yeah,
my
but-
life is going to be way better.
His
For
yarmulke
the-
will make him aerodynamic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll help.
For the purpose of what his main purpose is, which his main purpose is being a Jewish boxer, and the black guy's main purpose is being a mathematician. So in those contexts,
Okay.
what would you prefer?
Because they're both going to be more difficult.
Yeah, I guess which one would be more difficult, and pick the other one.
I would like to be a Jewish boxer, I think.
Yeah, I'll be the Negro just for fun, I guess.
Now this one's a very important one. It'll tell you a lot about a person. But would you rather give the first 90% of a blowjob or the last 10%?
How long is the whole thing?
And who's
Roll the dice. Like,
who's getting it?
You could be a handsome dude. I don't know.
Why would that matter?
There's variables to consider here, right? Isn't
He
there?
showered and everything. You know, it's all good.
First 90 seconds.
90%.
Yeah, right. First 90%, which could be 90 seconds or it could be 90 minutes.
There's a question here that we have to ask, and I don't want to be the one to ask you. No, go ahead. Do you have to like receive?
Well, that's,
the end?
that's what he's saying.
Is
the
that what you're
first
saying?
90% or the last 10.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's an easy answer.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
saying one is you get
Okay.
it for longer, but there's no cum. Or the other one is shorter, but there's cum
Yeah,
and it's going in your mouth.
I'll go 90.
I'll go 10. Protein. Shit. 2 birds, 1 stone. Let's get it.
Holy shit.
It's less gay. I'm doing it for less long, and then I get like what, a gram of protein.
I guess the question hidden in there is like, how gay is cum compared to the blowjob
All
itself?
It's gay.
Yeah.
It's all
It's
gay.
pretty damn gay.
Cum itself is sort of asexual.
Okay, let's move on.
I don't know. Anyways, those are my games there. I got some questions though that are lined up. They're not like game questions, but they're fun questions, you know. What's your top 3 dream collabs as it stands right now? You got to pick between the two of you, so not 6, but 3 total.
We both choose one, then we have to agree on the third.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the one we would agree on would be maybe Sam Hyde.
Yes.
Okay, number 1, Sam Hyde for sure.
Yeah.
My choice number 2 would be, I want to say Jared Taylor, but that's gonna happen though.
It's definitely going to happen.
I'm gonna say Jared Taylor. Yeah.
So Sam, Jared, Taylor. It would have to be someone like maybe Jesse Lee Peterson.
That'd be a lot. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
The Hail Hitler Kanye song incident at the club. Could you guys just give me your general assessment of that?
Yeah, I don't know what everyone's freaking out about. They listened to a song that already went famous, like it already blew up and went viral, and they're listening to it, and everyone's upset now. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Miami is a very Jewish city. I mean, dude, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, do we really have, like, when it comes to the things that are most salient, do we really have freedom of speech or expression? And it's like, the reason why the Andrew Tate thing was so odd to me, I acknowledge his point of view about having a lot of pressure and trying to help people, and people might not understand what it's like to be under such immense pressure. But, you know, his whole career is about him being this outspoken, introverted, loud person who's like advocating for men and stuff like that. Extroverted. Yeah. And someone who's unapologetically going to say what's on his mind. And now all of a sudden he's going on this media circuit, seemingly kind of apologizing for something that he didn't even do or say. Like, he didn't even say anything. He was just in the proximity of people who were playing a song. It's like the whole career is about him being outspoken, and then he has to be apologetic for something that he didn't even say. I think what this really shows, and I wouldn't say like I'm going to call him a sellout. Like, I think he's done a lot of good and maybe some bad too. He's just a person. But this should continue to prove what people like me and you or other people before us have been critical of, which is that there is this adversarial group that it's consequential if you criticize them. And that speaks to the power dynamics that we have right now.
And it transcends politics. Because you have Sneeko, who's like a racially mixed third worldist.
He's like 12% Jewish.
He's Muslim.
He's also part Jewish.
Yeah, he's like 12% Jewish. And then you have like Justin Waller, who's white, Clavicular, who's white. You have Nick, then you have Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, who are like half black, and then you have Myron Gaines, who's Sudanese, and then all of them though are branded as like evil anti-Semites. So it's like this thing isn't racial, it's not political. It's just this particular group of people who cannot accept criticism or flack or heat, you know?
Yeah, I think it was weird for me. I watched that live actually, and I was surprised when the club allowed that. So my reaction being surprised, that's probably amplified. You know, the fact that a club played it, I think, was like a sign of the times almost. It's like, oh, that's bypassing, you know, the DJ at this point.
Yeah.
Do you think that's interesting, the fact that they played it at all?
I mean, look, they had really famous people there. They probably went, hey, can you play the song? Oh, Andrew Tate or Sneeko just asked me to play the song. Sure, like that doesn't surprise me that much. But the clip of Sneeko on his live stream, I watched the whole live stream, and his buddy called him and he's like, yeah, you're being banned from all of these places. And he's like, well, I thought you were my friend. And he's like, no, we haven't been friends for like a year. Some dude, like doing this like Jew shit. And then that Steiny guy from Nelk Brothers like tweeted, I'll send people $1,000 if you leave the club a 1-star review. He knows people that runs the club. And then when he got called out on, he said, oh, I was kidding. It's like, it's just total, it's the specific type of behavior that's exclusive to Jews, and there's no other descriptive for it other than G. It's like G. Like they do something and then you call them out and they're like, oh, you know, it's just, I don't like it. I really don't like it.
Do you feel that Andrew, the way he's reacted, he's gone on somewhat of a podcast tour, explaining himself, even if he's not apologizing necessarily, explaining himself to people? Don't you think that's just kind of, first of all, unnecessary, but second of all, a big hit on his reputation for even having to do that?
Yeah. Well, first he lost that fight and a lot of people lost respect for him for that. I don't really care about that. I think he handled that kind of like an adult. I appreciated that. And I've always liked some of the stuff that he said, but I do think that he way over explained his position. If you're not really sorry for something, just don't say anything.
There's a sense of like, he felt compelled to over explain though. Like the next day, Tristan and Andrew are sitting down with the guy who owns Shapiro Capital. And then they go on this tour, this media circuit, and he's excessively explaining what's so obviously observable, that he was in a car when people played a song. It just seems like so trivial when you actually think about the event that happened. The fact that he feels so compelled speaks to the nature of what people are talking about.
It is weird how just after it happened, Andrew's going around and doing podcasts.
And talking about it.
I will say it's because he's in Miami, though, probably, I would assume.
Maybe.
Yeah.
'Cause that's where all they are.
But like he's sitting down with PBD and that fucking Adam Sosnick guy.
I do not like Adam Sosnick. I've never liked him.
I'm gonna publicly state that. Yeah, I don't either. I think it's something about
Adam Sosnick is a great guy. My bad.
No.
I love the fact that he's Jewish too. That has nothing to do.
I don't even think PBD likes Adam. honestly. Just like if you listen to their
Well,
dynamic.
that's like
You fight it.
that's why that dynamic is so odd to me. Is that you have PBD who's like he's brown, you know, but I like him. He's like they have like a good normie conservative podcast. It's ultra conscientious.
Very impressive.
He kind of comes across as like your friend's dad, like this
Yeah.
strong. Like
Like-
I like him. I like PBD. Like he seems like a solid guy, but he does have a sort of like domineering personality, and it's weird to me how that gets completely cast aside when this little G has something to say. It's like, why is this guy even on the round table with I think other guy's Vinny and PBD? Like, why is he talking over PBD? Like, it's so weird to me the dynamic because PBD is like this domineering, big like father guy. And then this like snake is like, but that was anti-Semitic. It's just weird. I don't like the dynamic is off to me.
He's got a sneaky little vibe. I'll say it publicly. I don't like that fucking guy. I don't like.
Yeah,
I never liked him. Did you ever see that episode with Nick on the Sauce Cast?
Yep.
Classic.
That was it. I mean, that's an
What's
incredible
that
video.
bald fuck's name?
Oh,
Nima.
Nima.
Nima. Hate
King
that
Alpha
fucking
King
guy.
Nima. Yeah, another Jew.
Yeah, Sephardic Jew, right?
Sephardic Jew. Not as bad, but you know, Jew
He's not
nonetheless.
even like a good orator either. So
No.
it's like he doesn't even have the respect in
Yeah.
that regard either.
It's like your team is packed with pedophiles.
That was
I
so
don't know.
funny.
Do you think there's a Jewish control apparatus in our country? And to what extent should we be concerned?
Yeah, well, if there wasn't, you wouldn't even be asking us about the controversy where they're playing the Kanye song. I mean, if there wasn't that, then nobody would care. You can play a song about any other topic and there's zero consequence. But unless maybe one of my songs would cause consequence. But like this is the singular topic that it's a song that somebody plays on a bus and there's like an international meltdown. I mean, that should prove to you that at a minimum, we can talk about like the depth of that apparatus, but at a minimum, there's like subversive control that's acting against the interest of Americans. I think that's very obvious now.
I think the Jewish question is just a conspiracy theory.
Huh.
I don't think it's real. I don't think any Jews are in any positions of power. And I think that the fact that they've been kicked out of 109 countries is completely arbitrary and it was the other people's fault every time.
Most people won't be able to articulate the structure of that apparatus, and how deeply and pervasively it has infiltrated our institutions. But it's just undeniable. You know, you find so many coincidences. Eventually, that the amount of coincidences has to turn into red flags, and then those red flags somewhere along the line turn into pattern recognition. Yeah,
I don't even blame them. It's every group, if they were smart and looked out for each other at the level that Jews were to do that, it would be very similar. I don't even care. I just want white people to do the same thing. Because if we do, we're going to be better. That's all. I mean, I don't blame Jews for doing that. That's what I would do. If I was a Jew, that's exactly what I would do, is what they're doing.
Should women vote? Why or why not? And then should they work would be a follow-up question.
should women vote? No, because women are irrational and they are unable to make logical and analytical decisions in the same way that men are. And yes, there's a bell curve distribution where some women are more logical than some men, but we don't create laws on the basis of exceptions. We make laws on the basis of rules and consistency. And there is zero measurable benefit that our society has gotten from women's suffrage and giving them the right to vote. I can think of tens of millions of baby carcasses that have been aborted since giving them freedom. I can think of tens of millions of dysgenic brown people that have flooded our borders and exploited our institutions. I can think of tens of millions of SSRI medications that have been consumed by demoralized women who don't understand what's going on in society right now. But I can't name one benefit that has come from women having the right to vote. Why are we still doing this? They reliably vote blue. They reliably vote for immigration. They don't understand power. No, women should not vote. And the fact that it's contentious really speaks to just how sick and lost our society has become, because every other great empire in history, cross-culturally, racially around the world, do not give women the right to vote. It just doesn't make any sense.
The craziest thing about this, and this just reinforces the racial thing, you know how they say if only women ever voted, it would all be blue?
Yeah, it's true.
If only white women voted, it would always be red.
I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah.
More than 50% of women are like registered as Republican.
Um,
I don't know. Is that true?
that's what I saw. I mean, it could just be internet propaganda.
Well, the race thing does matter because non-whites reliably also vote blue.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not that they shouldn't vote. They shouldn't be allowed to vote. And the whole working thing, I don't know about that. I just don't think that they should be encouraged to work over their natural proclivities towards motherhood. I don't think it should be like illegal for a woman to work, but like women having entered the workforce did just change the dynamic. I think maybe like sexual segregation would be okay, but it's not like women like the women in the 1800s worked. It's not like they've never worked. It's just how are we incentivizing the structure of the society? That's sort of what matters to me. The whole men and women thing, it's not as important to me as the racial thing, but it does matter. No, they should not vote.
It's the work thing I also have feelings on. It would be not feasible for people can't make the differentiation between should we do something versus is it like legally feasible. Obviously right now, if all women stop going to work, actually things would probably improve, honestly. But I don't know if that's actually like a feasible solution. It's just a question of, is it working? What have we gotten since women have entered the workforce? What have they really contributed other than contributing to consumer debt and duplicating the taxpayer base and taxpayer money that doesn't benefit our country or our infrastructure? It's been so destructive. It tears families apart. It subverts the natural maternal instinct of women. What do you think an HR department is? An HR department is a woman that never had children and now has to pervert her maternal instinct in the corporate world. All of this is just sick. And then people like us are painted as the evil ones for wanting to like support natural order. It's like, I'll go around and I'll ask people, what is the point? Like, what have we gotten from women having the right to vote and to work in the workforce? It's like, look, we can make exceptions for exceptional human capital. Some women can be brilliant. I know some brilliant women. I think my mom's a brilliant, strong person, but like reliably, most women are irrational and stupid. And I think it's just obvious because what is required of like a man that works like construction or like military or an oil rig? You have to be like made of iron. Women are flexible, like their moral fiber, their character is more flimsy. And I think that they're not as reliable as a man is, you know, like if I have a problem, I would prefer a man there to be there to help me, you know? I just don't think it's the same. And it's like, it almost strikes me as like, if we were living in a parallel universe, the question would be, should women or should men give birth? Like that's how opposite it seems to me. And I think that the illusion is that women have been liberated by being given freedom. But I think that they've been enslaved by modernity because they've never had more power, never had more independence, never had more privilege and ease of existing in the world, and they've never been more miserable. Why is that? Because the way that they are existing in modernity is contrary to their natural constitution. That's my belief.
Yeah, it also lowered the wages because of, you know,
Yes.
effectively doubled the workforce.
That's exactly right.
Maybe not perfectly one-to-one, but it definitely lowered the
Yes.
wages. Yeah.
It's all to the detriment of just people, right?
Are you against polygamy for men?
No.
At this point, for white men, no. It's unfortunately, even though it would be against like Christian doctrine, I think at a certain point it's going to be required of us to do that to sustain our birth rate.
I'll take one for the team.
Could you give me like your general thoughts on James Fishback?
My general opinion on James Fishback, well, we're going to be interviewing him on the 12th, and I look forward to that conversation. Look, I think that he's obviously intelligent. He's very well spoken. He's precisely hitting all of the America First talking points, and he understands what's going on. But I don't think that just because somebody says or claims to be America First that we should just hand our vote over to them the way that we've handed our vote over to MAGA or all the other right-wing people. I don't 100% trust him. And I think that to be like a real leader, someone's going to have to prove themselves. So it is exciting to see like somebody coming along and talking about America First ideals. But I'm not like 100% convinced that this is the guy all the way, you know, but he could be like a potential Overton window shifter, you know?
I'll be honest, I may meet him and really like him and stuff, and who knows, maybe we'll be best buds. But fundamentally, at its base, I am a racial identitarian, and he's half Colombian. I don't want half Colombian people in my government, if I'm just being totally honest, no matter how intelligent or qualified they might be. Because again, it's a matter of how do we want to structure society. And this is how we've been structuring society. We don't have a colorblind meritocracy. And I think that identitarianism is the correct response. And frankly, he's not a white person.
I would ask you, is that preferable to Byron Donalds, though, you know, obviously being fully black?
Yeah.
In a situation where you're forced to vote in a primary?
That's like saying, is it preferable to suck a dude's dick for 90% or the last? It's like, yeah, it's preferable, but again, it's like the only way to play the game is to not, or the only way to win the game is to not play. And I'm basically getting to where it's like, do I even play the game? You know,
Yeah, I don't, at this point, I don't really believe in voting anymore, actually. But I do think it's more about the fact that an America First political candidate has emerged. But the idea of voting, I don't really think it matters now.
Well, like you said earlier, it's a litmus test for the fact that in order for him to have a chance at winning, he has to appeal to the young white men. It's a great sign. But I don't think that like he's not going to get in and change very much, you know.
That was going to be my last question. I mean, is it a sign of what's to come, at least now that political candidates have to appeal to young white men and pander, even if he is pandering and just telling us what we want to hear?
I hope so. Because when everyone started noticing, you had Tucker Carlson and you have Candace Owens, who really don't actually contend with the Jewish question. They just contend with Israel or the Islamist or the Frankist or the Zionist. It's always just some other thing. Like none of them admit that it is the Jews. It's sort of the same thing with every other topic. There's a limited hangout sort of aspect to it. So that's the way that I look at it. I remember the point that I was making. I don't remember why I was making it.
Yeah, well,
I took cold meds like an hour ago, and I'm just like about to fall asleep.
yeah, well, James Fishback, I mean, he's on Tucker Carlson, and they're getting along. And James Fishback used to work for Doge, and James Fishback used to work at a hedge fund. It's like, okay,
He sounds exactly
doesn't
like
really-
Vivek Ramaswamy.
yeah, and he-
Why? It's weird.
yeah, and he speaks identical to like Vivek Ramaswamy. It seems polished and media trained. It doesn't seem like a heartland white American. From your point of view, when you're talking about, okay, what really matters is this like pushing us forward, not really about the authenticity of the pundit. That's true. But I don't fully trust the guy, but I'm open to like having my mind changed.
I think it's an indication that people want something else,
Yeah.
and that would be the minimum. Yeah.
What's a misconception about you?
I'm not Chechnyan. I am white.
Do people think that?
Well, before I had the mustache, I had like the Abe Lincoln thing going on, and people always thought I was like, I'm actually much taller in person.
It's a pretty tall guy, both of them.
Yeah. What am I gonna say? I don't hate people. I don't give a fuck. You know,
Yeah.
it's like misconception. Well, what are people gonna what is their conception gonna be? Either it's gonna be, wow, these guys are mega based, I like them, or they're evil Nazi. And like there's no really reconciling that, and there's no appealing or convincing
Yeah.
someone who looks at my beliefs and thinks I'm a Nazi. There's just no negotiating with that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, though. That's kind of
No, I appreciate
at least
that.
the attempt.
Well, I'll put it this way. Everything that I believe is only because I think it's best for everybody. That's all I'll say.
The misconception about me is that I care about misconceptions. And if you're somebody who is like focused on doing something in your life, then you don't really care about perceiving somebody in a way that confirms your own bias. So like I don't think that we're gonna try to like persuade people that are dedicated to misconceiving us.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
your time.
That's good.
You, man.